So here we are in the interwar, second interwar phase, preparing to set up for the Corinthian-Theban War, which in a lot of ways should almost not relate to what's going on, to Athens, right? Yeah, Sparta's power might be impacted by it, but let's take a look at what is happening. Let's follow through it. The designer engaged with me on my YouTube channel, and clearly, the decision in this game was to create something that created a single, that created good scenarios, and then tack them together with a single victor at the end in the manner that the game actually represents, and kind of, turning a back on the issues that I'm concerned about. But I've raised a few ideas. Maybe it's time to test them out. So let's see what we have here. All battle cards are shuffled together in one deck. Yeah, okay. Action cards. Remove any that have a blue owl or yellow sun. Okay, yeah, this is the wrong thing. That's the scenario beginning. Grand campaign. Here we go. Use the Second Peloponnesian War setup. Rather than determine the victor of the Second Peloponnesian, perform the following. Eliminate all leaders for both sides, except the generics, and Lysander and Thrasybulus. Ow. Having a fingernail cracked like this is just terrible. Okay. Done. For each pair, fuck, I did it again, damn it. Okay, for each pair of veteran leaders removed. I had one veteran leader, Demosthenes was earlier, Brasidius was earlier. Okay, I don't think anybody lost a pair of veteran leaders here. Okay. I'm not so sure. See, we lost Clericus, who is veteran. I guess none of these were. And these were earlier losses. Okay. Replace Athens map with Thebes map. This other one, Achaean League. That maybe is from the final. I'm going to put this here because I'm not sure everything translates over. Okay. Add Ismenius and Agesilaus. All right, let's find. Leaders are moved to ready. It almost sounds like everything is going to transfer over. Add the third Athenian hoplite army to the game. I can put my armies here. The Spartan player sends a great... Yeah, so here we go to this. Let's reflect on what goes where. And this is where I definitely want to undo some stuff. So... let's take a look at what the historical scenario would have looked like. And again, I don't know, obviously this is just going to play out just like, it's not going to change the relative positioning of the players. Maybe Sparta won't control all the map anymore, which looks particularly daunting, but I don't think it produces much balancing facet to the game, and the designer indicated that he had no desire to do so. Let's take a look at this Theban-Spartan war. How would this have been set up? Well, the 4 colony markers, Athens. So we're looking at Thebes, Delphi, Athens, Euboea, Corinth. Yeah. And then we're looking at, I'm going with Sanders still here. He's not being added here, right? Eliminate the leaders except for, oh no, Lysander would have stayed but he was already dead. Okay, good enough. And again, you know, some of that may not be perfectly chosen, right? Like, a leader may have died in battle, but have been young enough. So if we look over here at what we had here, my poor finger. Yeah, Lysander and Thisibulus are the last set. So that's probably reasonable. But, you know, it's possible that some leaders died in battle who might not have aged out. And it would kind of make sense to keep them in play. So what we're looking at here is control disks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, one's an influence. Call it 8. Okay. And then here, and remember, Sparta won the Peloponnesian Wars. Okay. So we're looking at something that would make equivalent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're looking at 8 to 6. All right. I don't. Yeah, see, part of the problem is Thebes is going to be the new home, and you're going to also see, well, you see Athens here, and Corinth are partially in it. Let's take a look. Oh. God, this is going to be hard because it's not going to be Thebes. I mean, Thebes is going to be there, but I've got to do something to get rid of this. So let's try counting pips from the other one. That might be interesting as well. Let's see what we got here. Spartan controlled 3, 4, Pylos 5, Cythera 6. Doesn't really count. Sparta's getting the external powers. So we're around 6, I guess? I don't know. Manatea. That's 2. 3, 4, no, 2. Oh, this is a control disk. 3, 4, 5. This can't be right. Let's go back to this one. All right. Sparta is 3, 4, 5. Militias 5. I don't know where it is. I do not know where it is. Oh, this blows. There it is. 6. 7. 8. This is not easy. That's going to be 9. 10. Okay, so we're at 10 pips of control. Wow, I've burned my battery already. And for the Athenians, we're looking at 3, 4, I'm not counting the influences, 5, 6, 7, and an external area. So we're looking at like a 3-point advantage instead of what we've got. Hold on. Top of that, you'd normally be adding this, which is each gets a couple extra influence, or some other card from this set. 10-point influence. What was I saying I wanted to see? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just beyond me to make something like this up on the fly, because what I'd be looking at is, okay, look, you know, Syracuse. First of all, these I think are gone. You know, I'm trying to balance between two scenarios here to come up with how I would end this. If I played this out the way it was going, look, Sparta won. Okay, so screw it. You know, I don't want to play out. You know, it was at the point sometime early on in last scenario where it's obvious that the game's just not going to turn around unless there's something built into this mechanism to do that. Now I could just go play the Theban War scenario, and that would actually be a perfectly reasonable historical situation, right? Because I feel like Sparta won this, several years have passed, there's nothing really there in place. Now, what was I thinking before, though, in terms of how I would address this? What I was thinking was, I count the total pips. Let's just fuck around and see what we'd get. So count the total pips and compare the difference. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Oh, God, I don't know. This is too big a number for me to count. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, I didn't get this, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, something like 39 points there. Whereas he has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so 39 to like 11. That's a difference of 28 pips. What I would say is, out of those 28 pips, I would cut, say, half of them, 14 pips. Maybe with a necessity that Thebes be one of them, right? I don't know. You know, because here's the thing. I've got so many advantages. I could give up quite a bit. 38 pips, if I'm giving up, I'm sorry, it was 28 pips. If I'm giving up 14 pips, well, I don't want to lose these places where I have ones. I'll show you why in a bit. But here I can lose 1, 13, 12, 11, force them to get rid of this, 8, 7, 6, 3, 3, because the war's about Corinth. Two, 1, 0. So I would drop it to that. That would be my 14 pips. But now what I felt like under the other system that I was talking about was that I would have to... So I've charged Sparta with half the difference between the two sides. And you can see Sparta's a lot smaller now. But I don't feel like the Athenian side should remain as powerful either. But my initial thought was take half of what I take away from Sparta, which would be to take away some, say, 7 points worth of stuff. Well, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is kind of what I was looking at. Now that does not look particularly good for Athens either, right? And then we'd move on to the grand campaign rules. The Spartan player sends a greater envoy to a single enemy-controlled space. Yeah, this is no good. You know, I'm just going to give it up here. I'm just going to give it up. I feel like I'm pursuing a kind of hopeless task in terms of trying to make this work. And I'm so discouraged that I don't actually want to go on and play this next one. Let me give this some more thought. But, you know, I've taken so many pieces off now, right, that I feel like I've done way too much damage. So I would actually probably give them Thebes back. Let's take a look at what this would be. Yeah, see, these are flipping hostile spaces either into losing them from control or putting something else into play. And, you know, as it stands, Sparta still has such great control over everything. Veteran assets, if you control more than 2. Well, we would have to figure out who controls what. So Sparta managed to hold Thessaly. They lose Boeotia, though. Let's keep looking. The Corinthian Isthmus, they managed to hold. Sicily, they managed to hold. Peloponnesus, they hold. Aetolia, they hold. See, the fact that I get to choose my withdrawals in and of themselves is not a great design feature, because it allowed me to hold on to all of these counters that are the real power in the game, right? So I've got all of these, and then over here, the Hellespont, Chalcidice still remains theirs, but now they have Boeotia. So let's take a look then how this would go. Controlling more than 2 veteran assets. Well, what changed hands? Boeotia changed hands. So that went up here. I think that's the only thing that actually changed hands in this shift. Does anybody have more than 2? Yeah, they have more than 2 right now. I'm going to reduce a Cretan because I'm not sure I'm going to get to keep them. Again, I feel like the alliances probably disappear. If we look here, are there any alliances? Although in some ways you could probably make an argument that whatever was opposed to Sparta would still be opposed to Sparta after the 10 years or whatever. They would probably still have an interest. If we look over here, what do we got? We've got none on this side and none on this side. Okay, wait, we've got it. If the Athenian player currently controls any armies, any allies, yeah, so this is fucked up. One Spartan hoplite army is placed on each side, on one ally selected by Sparta, who's now under siege. Use the Theban Spartan war scenario special rule. I don't know why I'm doing this. When the scenario begins, Sparta's sieging is campaign somewhere in Persia. Yeah, I don't... Oh, I do have a Persia. Okay. Yeah. So I would get rid of this, because I think Sparta's power and control over the area mean that they should no longer have Persia. Again, I'm just spitballing here, right? And I don't think there's anything here that I like value-wise of what I'm coming up with out of this. Does it make sense that there would be 3 allies working against Sparta? Does it make sense that Sparta holds this? Yeah, I just don't think that, I don't think I can find a solution to this. So I'm going to walk away, go play some more Raid, and see if I can think of anything. Kind of in this torn position, because it's like, yeah, I enjoyed the scenarios, but I got to tell you the truth. So far, one scenario to the other doesn't feel that different, right? I feel like I'm making the same kind of choices. Sure, the cards are different and everything, but I don't feel like I'm playing, I don't know, a situation that is really unique. And some of it has to do with maybe the Euro-ness of the game, is that I'm more concentrating on the kind of actions that I'm taking and how I'm playing, more than on some kind of real flow through and capturing the real history of the situation. Any mention about these cards here? Keep all unused Corinthian Wars cards to the deck. So I don't like the idea of keeping the discard piles as they are. And I think we did that in the last one. I feel like some of them should actually filter out. Yeah, I just don't think that there's an easy way of tinkering this. Something that I can do on the fly. And now that I've changed the game state significantly, I'm not really happy with like what I could do to modify stuff. Like, what I almost feel would happen is that you'd have something like this as a rump, but then some of the territory would go against them. And Sicily becomes kind of unimportant once you get into this period. But it's not unvaluable. Like, it almost feels like it should be removed from the game. I just don't know. Yeah, I'm not having any inspiration. I had some hopes I could figure something out, and I'm really not sure that I can. I'm nowhere near in position to play the next thing that I want to play, but I'm not sure that I want to just play another scenario of this, right? Because again, like, there is a sameness between the scenarios. It's this, you know, the pattern of the play, etc. It's not like facing a different battle under the same system. And I just don't feel like there's enough differentiation with the cards. You know, it feels like I'm just setting up to play the game again, essentially, with each scenario. Which It's kind of disturbing to me. Did I not feel this? I'm trying to think because I played Plantagenet recently, which also had, those Levian campaign games have a little bit of this sort of, they have non-traditional systems behind them, which feel kind of Euro-ish as well. But there it felt like the actual map, the moving around and everything, the positioning of the new leaders, it all felt like like each scenario felt like it was going to be something different. I don't know. Let me keep thinking about what I'm going to do. I don't think I can come to a fix on this with the interwar, and I definitely did not want to just keep having Sparta grow and grow in power. Like, they're just too potent. And I had thought that I could come up with some kind of solution there. I don't know what the solution would be. It has to be something more drastic. Am I unhappy with this setup? It still seems too powerful. Like, it seems like Thebes is not going to, and maybe you can make that argument, right? Maybe you can make that argument that, hey, Thebes would not be, if that Second Peloponnesian War had been won as drastically as it was, Thebes would not be in a position in 10 years to be able to raise the flag. I don't buy that. I do not buy that. Because really, the enmity came from within the Spartan alliance for the most part. Now, how would you handle that? Well, the areas that were still anti-Spartan, I don't mind the idea of a few of them going away. I think part of the problem is that I allowed Sparta to pick which places they're losing, and Athens, Thebes, to pick which spaces they're losing. I think there has to be some kind of alternation or something like that. And maybe some rules that are applied. For example, Sparta would have to be able to remain. And maybe, the opponent couldn't pick things in the Peloponnesus itself. And likewise, Thebes might have to pick Thebes as its first gain, whatever it gets. But again, I'm just like, I look at the sheer points, right? And that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Now, if I had taken away just the 14 and not taken the 7 away from Athens, allowed Thebes to be a little bit stronger, how would that be? I don't know. But I'm left with this, wow, this is just not doing it for me. So the link between the two Peloponnesian Wars feels more natural. This one, I know it's not many years later, but it feels like it's a completely different situation. One which is just like, you're not looking at the Delian League versus, and that's probably why it's not all linked together as a single grand campaign, but you're not looking at like that same Delian League facing the Peloponnesian League. You're looking at the breakup of the Peloponnesian League. Of really what are its more external areas falling apart. And I would say, yeah, this would be out. But again, trying to come up with a solution on the fly, it just doesn't feel very good. And then the other question is, well, look, why don't I just play this scenario and say, screw it? And the answer to that is, what leads me to why would I go to the next scenario? I don't know, what is it called? The Cleomean War. Why would I go to that instead when I can just play Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason to skip this scenario. And then the argument and the feelings that I have that are keeping me from wanting to play either of the scenarios come into play, which is this, yeah, there's just not that much differentiation. I mean, the fact that things are set up in slightly different places doesn't make that much difference to me in terms of how the game is actually playing and the strategy and the mechanisms that you're going to use. As opposed, like in Plantagenet, I felt like, first of all, that had absolute, like, ketchup in it, right? Like, there's almost nothing in that game. There's almost no advantages that carry over between scenarios, which is weird. Except for killing people off. Like, managing to get people dead is worth something. But for this, the sameness of the scenarios makes me feel like, like I've already played two, right? And actually I played a third one before I did this. So how many of these scenarios do I feel the taste of playing before I'm like, yeah, they're feeling all the same, man. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna give this a break and see what happens. Maybe I come up with something else that I can squeeze in between this and the ACW game that I'm trying to figure out. And the shame of that is that I absolutely have to set that up and play some of that to get a grip on it. And when I start talking about things like that, then I'm like, yeah, but what am I gonna squeeze in that's not very big, and maybe I'll just keep playing these. I don't know. I just don't know. A couple more interesting notes. One was off that leader. Aegis. This might actually be reasonable to be worded the way it was. I wasn't aware of this, but he was one of the kings of Sparta at the time, and yeah, if you switched him, he still might actually generate points for Sparta. So it's not an unreasonable interpretation to make him a bad choice. What else came up? One was, and I just forgot about this. A couple of things I forgot about. You're allowed to mobilize and set into motion more than one unit on a given turn. I usually don't do that. Well, I never did that. I'm not sure how much difference it makes, because it's still, you could hurry things up if you're getting towards the end of your hand of cards and you want to do stuff. But generally it was the money that prevented people from being able to do enough things in a given turn. But yeah, you could unleash, 2-3 forces in one turn if you got the cash for it. The other one I need to find a rule for, which is regarding envoys. And this is weird because it's like, I don't know how many people are going to be here in my playthroughs, but at this point where I'm like debating whether or not I'm giving up, let me find envoys. There we go, 12. For some reason, I've had difficulty. Whenever a player can send one or more envoys, they can send one of those envoys, only one, to their uncontested, not rated, not under siege capital instead. That was something that I completely missed. That makes it much, much harder when cards are going against you to lose your capital the way Athens kind of did to a couple of bad cards there. And that kind of makes sense. Although I do like the idea that like Sparta could essentially cause an oligarch's revolt that destroys the Delian League entirely. But yeah, I don't know how believable that is, to be honest. But it was cute. I think we're going to wrap this up. I've been struggling with the idea. Here it is, I don't know, mid-afternoon on Sunday. And, you know, I've been rolling it over in my head. And I'm like, for the reasons I argued, I don't really feel like I want to play more scenarios of it. There's a sameness to them, even if the event cards are different and whatnot. It just, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of progression, you know, from one to the other, a lot of differentiation. And maybe I'm missing, you know, some strategy. Maybe there's some strategy that, like, I could still discover, which would be very cool. You know, there's no question about that. But on the other hand, I'm just, you know, I'm feeling like the core mechanisms of the game aren't leading me to want to just keep playing and keep playing. The one thing, obviously the Grand Campaign, one of the things about it is, look, I'm still convinced that there's a way to tinker this around. Also not feeling terribly well. A way to tinker around with this, but I think it's kind of cool that this shows my hubris at thinking I could just do it on the fly. I've done that before with some games. What the hell? The one I can think of is it The Most Dangerous Time, I think? I think so. I'm not sure. Which is what I kind of zoomed in on there with my steps. I think I kind of did a, hey, on the fly, let's extend this scenario by doing this, that, and the other. Here, unfortunately, look, the choices that I made might have worked if the game was still close. And that actually might be good, right? Like, a little bit more balancing in the situation, but not overboard. It might have been a good compromise. It might have worked if I had done this in the first pass through. But I'm also left with kind of but I'm also not getting, you know, that historical switch from Athens to Thebes as the power. And I just don't feel like that actually exists in this design. So I think I probably would want to work it out a little bit more. I also like the idea of, you know, I mean, part of me is saying, look, this is a video nobody wants to watch. And that may be the case. But on the other hand, I do think there's some value to being able to capture the thought process that go in. And the arguments on my decision. Now, I'm going to repeat some of those arguments probably, who knows, in my review. But yeah, I don't have the willpower to push on and do yet another one of these scenarios right away. I really enjoyed playing, especially the first scenario. And I think I would enjoy any of the scenarios once standalone. But it doesn't lead me to want to replay the game in the same way that, like, a lot of Euros that have a certain kind of mechanism to them, I'm just not left with now I get it. I want to try again. I get more of a yeah, okay, you know, I might enjoy this again, but I'm not like fixated on the, hey, I want, you know. I want this to come up again. And I think some of that has to do with the reactive nature, the ease with which, and this is a shiver of the complaint that I have about, again, those very simple level CDGs. This is not simple level. This gives you more opportunities and more play than I'm saying in that. But this kind of feeling of, oh, you're doing that? Okay, I'll do that to counter it. And I gotta tell you, I think Twilight Struggle feels the same way. And that's, hugely popular game, right? But I think to some extent, I do this, you do that, I do this, you do that, just, where the you do that is often a counter to what the other player does. It was fun for a while. And I feel like that sort of flavor of the game, even though there's other stuff going on and a lot of fun and a lot of randomness with the battle cards and everything, it just feels like it's sort of outlived. And I gotta say, the disappointment with the campaign not meeting my desires for what the campaign should be, definitely tin-colored my experience. I'm gonna load this up, start putting it away, and come back with a review of it.